Hey everybody, I'm your host, Jack Canfield, and welcome to today's show. With me today is Natasha Miller, who's the founder and CEO of Entire Productions, a 3 times Inc. 5000 honoree, which means she's a very successful entrepreneur, if you know what that means. And she and her work have been featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and USA Today. And most importantly for us today, she's the author of her very powerful and moving memoir, which is entitled Relentless. Welcome to the show, Natasha.
Thank you so much. It's really good to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. And let me start by saying, while reading your book, I literally could not put it down. It's one of those books where, it's way past my bedtime. I should be going to sleep, and I'm still up reading it because I'm wanting to see what's going to happen next. The story is compelling. It's inspirational, and you're writing sensationally good. So I'm really glad to be helping you get awareness of this book out there. I'm really recommending everybody read it. So let's start by addressing, how are you able to go from a discarded youth to owning a successful Inc. 5000 company?
I would say it's a little bit of like spaghetti. There was not a straight route. And along that journey of all of the twists and turns, I learned so much. And I think that journey was so important for me to be where I'm at, both mentally and professionally successfully. Anytime I turned a corner and something happened, whether it was good or bad or somewhere in between, I definitely took the lesson. But what I think I did was I took advantage and really amplified that moment and took it all the way to its fullest capacity. That's part of the secret sauce of my life trajectory.
No, it really is. And when here you are, everyone would say you're a success. You're a successful businesswoman. You've made a difference in the world. You've now written a book that's amazing. So when you think about success, what does success look like or mean to you?
Yeah, I finally come into accepting that I am successful. I do want more. I want more for myself, but success to me right now means I get to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. So I'm not beholden to a time clock. I am not beholden to something that I don't necessarily want or love to do. So I'm able to create. And for me, that means anything from writing a song to writing a book or writing an article to taking classes to further my thoughts and ideas and creative outlet. Of course, I'm still working and I love working. So I'm very blessed with that. But just this morning, being able to drive across this little bridge that I live near and get a hot chocolate, being able to say, oh, this tastes so good. We're outside, the air is clean. I'm alive. I just had a friend who was very deathly ill. I just really appreciate all the small moments. And it really, really does matter. And I know that the journey to the big thing is actually the most exciting part. And so sometimes that takes me a little bit longer to do the big thing because I just don't want to get there yet. Before, when I was younger, I always, of course, wanted to rush to getting there. But now I know the secret.
Very good. Well, you went through a lot of challenges, no question. And I want you to tell a little bit of your story. You're a musician. You got very good at it through your determination and the relentless you had to pursue that. You then got into the business world, but with music involved in it. Could you just give us a little bit of your story?
Yes. So I started playing the violin, which in Iowa, we had free education, free music education. That doesn't exist as much any longer. We didn't have much money growing up, so playing the violin was probably not going to be an option for me. And I always wanted to sing, but because I got so good at the violin, and I'm telling you, I got good at the violin, but I'll tell you why I think I did. So a lot of people meditate, and back in the 80s, we didn't hear about meditation, right? But I think what happens is when you practice an instrument, you get to pour your soul out, and it's 6 to 8 hours of practice. For me, it was. So that's just racking up the hours. I think I had a natural talent, but I also wanted to sing. So those two things were driving me. And all I thought I would ever be in life, which is not a bad thing, is a performer, a performing artist. That's what I was put here on this earth to do. But when I was about 19 and in college, I had a string quartet. It was the Sapphire String Quartet. I named it. And I was so proud of myself. And I was playing corporate and social events. But then when a call came in for a second or a third booking on the same night, I didn't turn it down like a lot of people would. They would have said, oh, I'm busy on that night. But I said, I'm busy that night, but I can bring another group in that's as good as I am, probably better, and manage them for you. And so I started this little business without a business license, but I didn't know I needed one. And it just started compounding. And at one point in about 2001, I created a company called Entire Productions. And that year I landed a client that I have to this day, 20 years later. And that's the Oakland City Center. They have music every week. And so I programmed every genre, every discipline. And it just started snowballing, not only just jazz and classical, but now everything from bands and DJs to full orchestras. And it's been amazing. And now our focus is on big tech. It's where we're at in San Francisco Bay Area. So Google and Apple and Salesforce are the clients that I'm working with now. And mind you, part of the story, which I haven't let out of the bag quite yet, is that I've been on my own since I was 16. And I believe a lot of people in my life at that time thought that I would not really amount to much.
Yeah.
Well,
They were wrong. One of the principles that you illustrate in your story there is that everything's an opportunity. Every challenge is an opportunity. And you kept seeing the opportunity like, okay, I can't do this, but I know people who can, and I can get them booked and I can manage them and I can take a piece of the action. And my great mentor, W. Clement Stone, always said, every time you meet someone, you have a conversation, ask the question, what's the opportunity that this is? And when you do that, then life keeps expanding because you're coming from service to meet a need, to fulfill a need that's there. And you've done that spectacularly. Now, when it comes back to your book, what are your goals for the book? What do you want to accomplish with it?
So on the humble level, I want as many people that I can get in front of to read the book. And furthermore, I really want to impact them. So Jack, you have accomplished an incredible amount in your lifetime. And I hope that while reading the book, there's been a little light bulb go off. And maybe even with all your success, you think, oh, there's that thing that I wanted to do. I'm going to do it now and take some action or feel fulfilled. I really want to impact someone. Again, I don't need to transform your whole life. That is not what I've set out to do. And because I grew up in a place where I was never asked to think big and not much was expected of me, it's only recently that I've been putting big goals in front of myself. And I'm going to do everything I can do to make them. But as you may have heard, I alluded to before, it's really the journey and not necessarily arriving. However, I'm going to put this number out there, 25,000 books. For somebody like me, that's a pretty big number. And so I'd like to sell that many, but really I'd like that many people to read the book.
Well, I think that will happen very quickly. And someday you're going to be looking back and say, God, I was talking to Jack Canfield. I said 25,000. We've now sold 1 million and it keeps climbing. And now it's translated into all these languages. They want to make a movie out of it because it really is that kind of book. It combines a powerful story written really well where I just kept turning the pages like I should be going to bed already, but I'm not, staying up and reading it. And it's also got practical advice in it. It's got embedded in the stories and how you share your own journey. So I think it's a phenomenal book. I think you're going to do really, really well with it. And the reason I'm interviewing you is I want everyone to know about this book. I want them to read it. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about you, your book, your company, your work? What do they do? Where do they go?
Yes, I have a new website that I would love everyone to go to. You can email me from that. It's officialnatashamiller.com.
Officialnatashamiller.com. Okay, good. And the book is Relentless, and we want to make sure you all read it. So thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it, Natasha.
It was my sincere pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to watch today. Make sure you tune in again next week for another dose of inspiration, encouragement, and practical advice on how to be more successful in every area of your life. And until then, have the courage to stand up and be relentless in your life in pursuit of your dreams. Until then, we'll see you next week.